The Death of Achilles. Before Achilles died, everyone already knew he would. That was the strange thing about Achilles. His story was never about whether he would die, it was about when. From the moment he was born, prophecy followed him like a shadow. His mother, the sea nymph Thetis, learned that her son was destined for one of two futures. He could live a long, peaceful life and fade into obscurity, or he could die young and be remembered forever. Achilles chose glory, and once that choice was made, the rest of the story seemed determined to catch up with it. By the final years of the Trojan War, Achilles had become the most feared warrior in the world. For nearly a decade, Greeks and Trojans had fought beneath the walls of Troy. Cities had burned, heroes had fallen, families had been torn apart, and yet Achilles remained undefeated. No warrior could match him, no army could stop him. His name spread across battlefields like a storm. And when soldiers saw him approaching, many believed death itself had arrived. But victories had come at a terrible cost. Among all the Greeks, no one was closer to Achilles than Patroclus. They had grown up together, fought together, trusted each other more than anyone else in the world. Then, Patroclus was killed by Hector, prince of Troy, and something inside Achilles broke. When he learned what had happened, grief consumed him. He wept, he raged, and then he returned to the battlefield, not for glory, not for honor, not even for victory, only for revenge. The fury of Achilles became legendary. He cut through Trojan warriors like a force of nature. Men fled at the sight of him. The rivers themselves were set to choke on the bodies left in his wake. Eventually, Achilles found Hector, the greatest warrior Troy had left. The two heroes met outside the city walls. Their duel became one of the most famous battles in all of mythology. In the end, Hector fell. Achilles had his revenge, but revenge did not bring Patroclus back, and it did not ease his grief. The war continued. Troy stood still, and fate continued its patient approach. Inside the city lived Hector's younger brother, Paris. Unlike Hector, Paris was not famous for his skill in battle. He was remembered instead for a choice that started the entire war. Years earlier, he had carried Helen away from Greece, setting kingdoms against one another. Now, after years of bloodshed, destiny placed him at the center of the story once more. One day, as fighting raged near the walls of Troy, Paris lifted a bow. Across the battlefield stood Achilles, the greatest warrior Greece had ever produced. The hero no one believed could be defeated. Paris drew the string back and released the arrow. And some stories say he acted alone, others say the god Apollo guided the shot. Many ancient storytellers believed Apollo had grown angry with Achilles and chose that moment to intervene. Whatever the truth, the arrow flew straight toward its target. Later generations would tell stories about Achilles' heel. They said that when he was an infant, Thetis dropped him into the river Styx to make him invulnerable. Only the heel where she held him remained untouched. Whether the earliest Greeks believed this exact version is unclear, but the image endured because every hero, no matter how powerful, carries some hidden weakness, and every mortal eventually reaches the limit of their strength. The arrow struck, Achilles fell, not beneath an army, not in some grand final duel, but from a single wound. The greatest warrior of his age collapsed onto the battlefield, and suddenly, the man who had seemed larger than life became mortal once more. The fighting did not stop. Greek warriors rushed forward to protect his body. Trojans fought to claim it. The battle raged around the fallen hero for hours. Even in death, Achilles remained the center of war. Eventually, the Greeks carried him away. His mother, Thetis, emerged from the sea alongside her sisters to mourn her son. Funeral games were held in his honor. Songs were sung, stories were told, and the armor forged by the god Hephaestus became the subject of fierce dispute among the surviving heroes. But perhaps the most touching detail comes after the war. Many versions of the myth say that Achilles and Patroclus were buried together, their ashes placed in the same tomb, together in death as they had been throughout life. For all his victories, all his glory, and all the songs sung in his name, it is often this final image that lingers. Not the warrior, not the legend, but the friend. And perhaps that is why the death of Achilles still resonates thousands of years later, not because he was invincible, but because he wasn't. He knew the cost of the path he chose. He knew glory would demand everything from him, and still he walked toward it. Greek mythology never promises heroes safety, only remembrance. Achilles gained exactly what he wanted. His name survived, his story endured, his deeds became immortal. But the myth leaves us with a question that still feels surprisingly modern. What is the value of success if it costs everything else? Achilles won everlasting fame, yet he died young, far from home, carrying grief that never truly healed. And perhaps that is the tragedy at the heart of this story. The world remembers the hero, but the man paid the price.